I'll call the meeting to order. This is a public meeting regarding some zoning amendment applications. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Sherry and Rob, any discussion? All in favor? It's carried, thanks. Any conflicts of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? None declared. Okay, our first item is item 4.1 D07-2023 Yarker Chan Development Incorporated, 4257 County Road 1 East. Our recommendation is that council receive zoning amendment application D07-2023 Yarker Chan Developments for information purposes. So everybody's gone through this. Cindy, did you want to just give us a brief summary of what zoning change is being requested here?
Sure. So it's going to be a site-specific mixed use, and actually FO10 Planning, who's has applied on behalf of the owner, is here with a presentation if we wanted to start with that. And she's got a great overview prepared.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, and you can activate that microphone. I hope it's turned on by pressing the silver button. Yeah, and you're good to go.
Perfect. All right. Well, good evening, members of council, members of the public staff. My name is Kelsey Jones. I'm a land use planner with FO10 Planning and Design in Kingston. I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicant, who is with me, Leonard Chan, to present an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the property at 4257 County Road 1 East. Yeah, if we can scroll to the next slide. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Please, thank you. So this property is centrally located in the hamlet of Yarker, and the surrounding area is generally comprised of residential, some small-scale commercial, and community uses. And the surrounding built form generally consists of low-density building heights, generally 1.5 to 2 stories. And the image on the screen is showing an aerial view of the surrounding area, illustrating the proximity of the site to residential, the community uses, and some of the commercial shown in the red labels. Next slide, please, Jeff. So the subject property, East County Road 6 and Choctaw Ridge Street. And the property was previously developed with a 2.5-story residential dwelling, but it had fallen into disrepair and it has recently been demolished. So the property is currently vacant. And as well, the property also has elevation changes. So the frontage along County Road 1 East is much higher than the frontage along County Road 6 and then Choctaw Ridge Street. Next slide, please. The image on this slide illustrates that the property is designated rural settlement area in the County of Lennox and Addington official plan. And this designation is intended to enhance the vitality and viability of downtowns, encourage an appropriate range and mix of housing, and encourage a range of employment opportunities. Next slide, please. The image on this slide illustrates that the property is designated hamlet in the township official plan, and this designation is intended to provide for a mix of residential and local service uses, including commercial, which are primarily intended to serve the residents of a hamlet and the surrounding rural area. And as well, this designation also encourages mixed-use buildings to have street-level uses for commerce, as well as others where public access would be readily required. Next slide, please. The property is currently zoned hamlet residential, which permits residential, community garden, private and public park uses. But the existing zoning does not permit any commercial uses, which is why a zoning bylaw amendment is being sought. Next slide, please. So the intent of this zoning bylaw amendment is to permit the redevelopment of the property with a 2-story mixed-use building consisting of 2 commercial units on the ground floor and 2 residential units on the second floor. The building has been positioned on the site to provide enhanced street presence and pedestrian connection, and as well a larger setback has been incorporated along that north, or yeah, I guess it's kind of northeast in this picture, lot line to allow for increased separation, recognizing that there's an existing residential house to the north of the property. And the development will incorporate a one-way drive aisle entering from County Road 6 and exiting onto Choctaw Ridge Street. There are a total of 10 on-site parking spaces proposed, including 2 accessible spaces, 2 spaces for the intended residential units, and 1 loading space. And as well, updated on-site private servicing is proposed, including a new private well and a new traffic-rated holding tank. Next slide, please. The images on this slide are preliminary, and further work is ongoing for the design of the building. But these give you a sense of what is intended. That being a high level of glazing and windows along the street, and a step back on the second story, both to reduce the visibility of that second story from the street, but also to provide the upper second floor units with their own private balcony spaces as part of their units. Next slide, please. A few technical studies were completed as part of the submission, including a traffic brief, a hydrogeological study, and a septic system plan. And these assess the technical requirements of the proposed development. And of note, the transportation study confirmed that the existing transportation network is operating at an appropriate level to support the proposed development, and the proposed on-site parking is sufficient to meet the anticipated demand. And as well, the hydrogeological study confirmed that the water source used by the site is capable of providing sufficient water quantity for the development, and no interference with 2 of the monitored neighbors' wells was observed during the pumping test. However, it was identified a need for a new drilled well for the property. Excuse me. Next slide, please. A zoning amendment is proposed to rezone the property to mixed hamlet use zone to allow a mixed use building on the property. And there are a few site specific zoning provisions that are being proposed, including a reduced lot area, increased lot coverage, a reduction in the number of parking spaces, and some modifications to the drive aisle width, parking space dimensions, and parking location, and a reduction to the planting strip width. Next slide, please. In summary, the proposed application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, as the development is compatible with the surrounding area and is an efficient use of an underutilized property in the hamlet. As well, the proposal conforms to both the county and township official plans, as it enhances the vitality and viability of the hamlet, contributes to housing and commercial opportunities, and integrates a low-density built form and emphasizes pedestrian design. And overall, it is my opinion that the proposal represents good land use planning. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I just had one or two. I guess at the lot size, the official plan zoning bylaw recommends lot sizes of 1 hectare in the township. This is 1/10 of that size. Now, I understand that the reasons, in fact, I was on council when we went from 1 acre to 1 hectare as a minimum lot size, and our concern at that time was potential contamination of wells and also water quantity. The pump test seems to have addressed the water quantity concern. And my understanding is that this won't have a septic bed, it will have a holding tank, is that correct?
Through you, Your Worship, that is correct.
Okay, so that sort of eliminates the risk of a septic bed contaminating a neighbor's well. The water quality test did turn up some E. coli and some total coliform. The proponent's confident that a treatment system can deal with that?
Through Your Worship, they are, and so is the engineer for the project. You are correct that the initial sampling did result in E. coli and total chloroform being identified, but through examination of the current condition of the well, part of the reason why it's being decommissioned and replaced is because the casing wasn't properly installed to begin with, and so the the casing above ground and the connection in a way we're failing, which is likely the reason and cause of surface contaminants entering the well and likely being the cause of why those contaminants were in there. So the engineer is confident that with a new drilled well on the property and being properly installed, that those results will be that new results of a new test will come back clear, and that there's no concern with the quality of the water for the property.
Yeah, I guess that old well hasn't been used for a very long time.
Correct.
It's all rusted out. Okay. Thank you. Cindy, we did get some comments, did we not? Is it appropriate to have them entered on the record at this meeting, or how shall we deal with those?
We can. All of council was provided a copy, as well as the applicant, so she could review them and respond to anything that needed to be updated. Comments were received on behalf of the Hydro G study, and I believe there will be a request for things to be amended coming forward on the new well. They still haven't been provided comments as of yet. We've consolidated them and still have to review them all internally before we provide an update to the applicant.
Okay. I did get an email from a resident as well, which I'll forward to you.
Okay, perfect.
There was no major concern. I think the one thing they were a bit worried about was simply traffic and the complex intersection there and the potential for increased traffic, and wondering about a three-way stop, and that would be something the county would have to look at. Anything from council before I ask if there's anything from the public? Anyone in attendance have any comment on this application? None? Okay, I will ask, you simply want a receipt of this, is that right? Yeah, can I have a motion? Doug and Sherry? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much. Okay, item 4.2 is D01-2024 Stinson 5248 County Road 41. The recommendation that council receive this amendment for information purposes. Who wants to present? Spike, are you going to do the job? Come forward, please. Hi, Stinsons. Just press the silver button there, Spike, and go right ahead.
Okay, I'm Spike Stinson. That's my dad, Don Stinson. We make wooden products in the back of the township on a back road, and we're looking to do a zoning amendment to move to Highway 41. My dad started the business back in the 80s, and we've been quietly doing it away with a couple staff, and we're looking to move and have the potential for growth in the future. Next slide. Luckily, over the years, we've been a part of some publications that have given us a bit of a name that we're looking to draw on to bring traffic to the storefront, the store. We're featured in the New York Times by ABC Carpets and Homes, a gallery we sell to. And then Dad was part of the Artist's Hands, which was a publication to fundraise for charity. Next slide. And House and Home, our tumblers were featured in that, and in Food and Drink in the LCBO magazine. And we sell our stuff at the ROM. They also featured us in their magazine, and they bought 2 of our pieces that are now part of their permanent collection. And the next one is Fine Woodworking put out a coffee table book called The Workshop, and that's our existing studio. So pretty dirty, and it's an older photo, but it's still pretty dirty. So we're looking to move to a new facility where we could grow and have a more beautiful presence. This is the site in which we are looking to do it, on the corner of Kids Road and County Road 41. It's the Kennedy farm there. The reason we chose that position within the field is because there's a giant elevation drop going down towards the road of about 30 feet. So that's kind of the top flatter section. It also provides us a larger distance from the neighbors, so that will have less of an impact on the surrounding people. Right now in the bottom right-hand corner, there's an existing field entrance in which we'd like to keep. Currently the field is farmed by the McLaughlins, and we're hoping to continue to have the surrounding area around the shop farmed and to keep that field entrance for them. And then put a entrance for our studio and our shop on Kids Road there, so that we're not impeding traffic and it's a safer entry and exit for people coming and going. We'll have it handy accessible. We'll have a small storefront, as well as our studio there. Next, this is kind of a rough layout of the building. The small room in the upper left-hand corner of the production studio would be a drying room. Production studio would be where we turn the bowls and other woodwork products, packing, shipping, and finishing, utility and compressor room, some washrooms in the storefront. And the parking would be along the north-facing part of the building, between the storefront and the production studio. And if you scroll down, these are just some pictures stolen off the internet. We're still working through the design phase of the building, but this is the aesthetic that we'd like to build. We would like the production studio to be matte clad black steel. Our current one's just gray steel. We want matte black doors, window trim, and then have our storefront be a charred wood exterior siding with matte black tin on the roof, so that the two buildings complement each other and so that they stand out. Similar landscaping as well. Over the last 40 years, we've employed a small amount of people. We're looking to continue that, and we kind of need a space that's not in my parents' front yard to continue to do that for the next 40 years, and that's why we're looking to move. We'll be bringing in tourism. Like I said, we've been fortunate that a lot of different magazines and things have liked to feature us. One of the ones I forgot and didn't make the slides that I found out today was we were in the high school textbook from when I was in high school. There's a little feature of Dad on it in the school textbook. But yeah, we're gonna look towards increasing tourism, bringing as much money from other places into our township. We'll be planning on putting signage on the 401 and Highway 7, as well as marketing and advertising both in the county and Kingston, because they have a huge tourism draw. And we're hoping that with our growth, we'll be able to grow our job positions, not only now just manufacturing and packing and shipping, but then have a storefront and have retail positions and managerial positions. And we're also hoping that in the future, we'll be able to hold different workshops so that people can learn to do some woodworking and enjoy what we enjoy, as well as provide a space that potential other people who make things within the community could come and host their own workshops. Yeah, our storefront would be our products, as well as we've been fortunate for the last 40 years of doing trade shows. We've met a lot of really nice artists that create all kinds of beautiful pottery and different mediums that we don't do, that we'd like to carry in our storefront as well. So it wouldn't just be one shop full of salad bowls. Be a lot of diversity. And the key thing with the storefront is it gives us a chance to produce products that we can't now. Right now, when you produce a product, it needs to be this big, and it needs to weigh under 20 pounds, and it needs to fit in a cardboard box and be able to be shipped for 20 bucks. And that's very difficult with wooden products. IKEA can't even really do it. They charge you for shipping too. So this will give us an opportunity that we can grow our product line. And one of the things I envision doing is growing it so that the small percentage that we currently sell online stays online, but we'll be able to produce stuff that will only be available in our store, and we'll advertise it that way. Kind of as an incentive for people to make the trip out. And that'll be a big push, is that they can't really get it unless they come. But yeah, so we've been doing this for the last 40 years, and we're hoping to keep doing it for another 40 and then see where we are there. Thanks.
Thanks, Spike. Any questions for Spike at this point? So the zoning change, go ahead, Cindy.
I was going to say this is subject to a current consent application as well, B10 2023, and it's been provisionally approved, but it has not completed this is a condition from the notice of decision, and there are a number of conditions that still have to be fulfilled before the consent's completed.
So what's the actual order that has to happen? Does the zoning have to be granted first, or does the severance have to be granted and the zoning is a condition of severance?
So the zoning is a condition of the severance. So
Okay.
this is our first step to garner interest. It will require site plan as well once it gets to that stage. And if it gets to that stage, but yeah, the well still has to be drilled on the property, or maybe it already has been. It has been drilled.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. So the decision on the zoning change then would come to a subsequent council meeting?
That's correct. Yeah, it's currently zoned rural, but it's being proposed to be rezoned to a rural commercial to allow the business, which will include into the zoning. It'll probably be a site specific to include a workshop and that sort of thing.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, so we would be and I've obviously no objection to this. It sounds like a great idea. Just getting the sort of the official sequence of events correct. So we can grant zoning approval to move to a rural commercial on a lot that actually hasn't been fully granted yet. We can do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So
We did the same, for instance, we did that on County Road 1, Shelby Cassidy's. We rezoned that to a hamlet
right.
in advance.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments from those in attendance? I assume that at least 3 in attendance are in favor of this. Yeah, maybe 4. Brian has no objections. Good. Okay. Well, that sounds great. So the ball is rolling now. It's gone through its required public meeting. Doug has moved receipt. Wenda seconds that. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much. We had the public meeting that we had to have. There's been no objection to your proposal. At a future council meeting, the zoning change, I'm assuming, will be granted. I can't say that absolutely certain. And then that will be one of the conditions of the severance. So then the severance can go ahead. Cindy can fill you in on all the steps. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. I guess that's everything on the agenda. So I need a motion to adjourn. Krista Lee and Wendy, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Yeah.